And I said, see you, little guy.
He got you.
He got me.
You know, kids don't get you.
She said, I wonder what your signature was upside down. Yeah. I couldn't really be honest with you. I thought that could be.
So you're on here too? You did. Oh, that's so cool.
Thank you.
So you're okay? No, but I'm getting there slowly. Climb steps.
Hey, it's going.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I am. Doing good. Better anyway.
Go for it.
Signing this.
Yes, ma'am. I just need your signatures for when we do the letters and stuff.
Yes, dear. I mean, yes, Mike. Your friend.
No, she does. Just the officers.
Okay.
Okay, well, good afternoon, and welcome to the April 26th meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Zoning and Adjustments. The Board of Zoning and Adjustments is a 5-member board, so it will take 3 affirmative votes to require an approval of any variance appeal today. If anyone is addressing the board today, please give us your name and address for the record and tell us where your hardship is or what your objection to the request may be. You will be given our decision today verbally, and you will receive our decision in writing within 10 days. The zoning approvals may be issued immediately following the hearing in our office at room B200. However, you will first be required to obtain a permit from the Jefferson County Health Department if your application involves connection to a septic tank, or the Jefferson County Environmental Services Department if your application involves connection to sanitary sewer. Anyone disagreeing with the board's decision today has 15 days and to file an appeal with the circuit court. Also, we ask that you silence any electronic devices during the hearing. We have all the members of the board had a chance to review the cases and minutes from the February 22nd, 2021 meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay, our first case will be A21-0002. Property owner Alexander W. Jones Jr. and Frank Galloway. And it's requesting a use variance to allow construction of a 3,000 to 5,000 square foot warehouse to store items for internet sales and agriculture zoning, in lieu of the required light industrial zoning for unspecified temporary time frame. The property's address is 4233 Cahaba Beach Road, Birmingham, and it consists of 6.23 acres. Michael, would you present our case?
Yes, sir. Again, this is a request for a use variance for a small warehouse out of the corner of Secret Hollow Road as well as Copper Beach Road. This case came to the BZA following the negative recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and denial by the County Commission for a rezoning request. As it were, the request was to go to a light industrial district because it would be a small-scale warehousing operation. The request was denied based on the fact that the land use plan for the county requires adherence to the spirit and intent and to the adopted policies of adjacent municipalities, which in this instance, the city of Birmingham has most of the area designated for either rural enterprise or low-density residential, as well as the city of Vestavia for low-density residential. So because of that conflict with the county's land use plan policies, the commission denied the request. And thus it's up to the Board of Zoning Adjustment to now review for the possibility for a use variance. In the bylaws for the Board of Zoning Adjustment, there are several criteria for which you can consider use variances. One is that it's something of a temporary nature. Another, that it's something that's very rather small and administratively burdensome, doesn't conflict with the area land use patterns, and also that it doesn't require a significant amount of infrastructure investment as well. In this particular instance, and in talking with the county traffic engineer, the county engineer, access along Secret Hollow Road is going to be restricted just due to the narrow nature of the road itself. And so access at that point will be required off Cahaba Beach Road, for which the county engineer will still require that infrastructure improvement with road widening and improvements to that particular road. As such, it doesn't meet that criteria that the board should consider when adopting use variances. Typically, in use variance requests, it's something where there's like an adaptive reuse. For instance, there's a use variance that was granted across the street from this site to allow a electrical contractor's office to inhabit an older residence that was otherwise abandoned. And in that instance, that request was approved. However, that request was also approved prior to the city of Birmingham adopting the land use plan that surrounds the property. And just based on the fact of or based on the property's history, we've gone through the series of evaluations with the Planning and Zoning Commission and the County Commission, that appropriate angle of considering the zoning change and the denial, also coupled with the fact that in this instance there still will be major infrastructure investments, which is contrary to the purpose or within the scope of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Staff has recommended, again, denial of this particular request. The applicants are here if you have any questions. And if you've got any questions for me, let me know.
Okay. Would the applicant like to rise and give us any additional information?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Frank Galloway. I'm attorney for the applicant, Mr. Jones. And in response to the presentation from staff, I would like to say a couple of things just out of the gate. One is there's an existing access point to this property from Secret Hollow. So that if a use variance was granted requiring access or permitting access off Secret Hollow, that would be nothing different than what is there now. So under the guise of reuse, I would think we would fit for that. Second is that in the last 15 minutes is the first we've heard that there has been a negative recommendation apparently from the county engineer about the road situation, and we don't know what the specifics are. There is a ditch that runs along our side of the property on this crossroad, But it is, and so does that mean the whole road would have to be widened? Would a culvert have to be installed? We don't know the details, and that's problematic from us to address the concerns because we don't know with specificity what those are. Also, too, that road is vacated shortly after our property. If one is familiar with it, one knows there's a bridge that used to be in use that would connect back to 17, which takes you to 280. That has been purposely vacated so that that can't be connected unless it is recondemned or voluntarily dedicated by the adjoining owners. So this is basically a dead-end street. So it's not a thoroughfare. The proposed use contemplates 3 or 4 truck deliveries a day for the woodworking shop that would go into the 3,000 to 5,000 square foot building. But we're at a handicap because we don't know what the county engineer's specific concerns are. So what we would ask, we didn't come here planning to ask for this, but I think it would be fair for the commission, the board to consider it, is to grant us a 1-meeting continuance so that we could have a person-to-person dialogue with the engineer to see what the concerns are. And if the concerns are to put a culvert in, pave over it, maybe trim some shoulder, do some stop sign or something, then maybe that's something that we can consider and we can appease the engineer's concerns. There may be other concerns the county has, but at least we are afforded the opportunity to see what those issues are. Otherwise, we go forward. If we get approved, we get approved. If we don't, we go to circuit court. Mr. Jones is an attorney, and that's where it ends up. We don't want to do that. We'd like to have the opportunity to see if something could be worked out. At the planning commission level, for the rezoning, there was not such a statement by anybody from the engineering department saying it had to be widened. We agreed that we would put culvert in if needed, and we would accommodate, but there was no, you got to do this, the widening of that road is one of the reasons it shouldn't be rezoned. So this is new to us. I'm not saying it's inappropriate, nor am I saying it is appropriate, but I think it would be fair to allow us to explore that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, if you don't mind, state your name and address for the record.
Alec Jones. I'm the applicant in this. Tripp mentioned 3 or 4 trucks a day. That's not. It's like 2 or 3 a week is what it would be in there. And right now, the road, the access to that property is off of Sigurd Hollow Road. We can bring 50 trucks a day in there right now if we want to, and we don't have to do anything. So I don't understand why all of a sudden the county's saying, well, if you want to do this, then you can't use that anymore. You can only use this, and you've got to widen the road to the length of the property to bring 2 or 3 trucks in a week. This, you can't see this from here, but that road has been past this property and over the hill, from there across the river, so approximately a mile, has been vacated. The property owners abutting the road, the waterworks, and all of the individuals that live out there, there's 6 houses out there. That's all the traffic that can be on this road.
You're speaking of the,
Sir?
which road you're speaking of?
Cahaba Beach.
Cahaba Beach.
Vacated. There can be no traffic on that, no public transportation on that road. It's just for the people that live there and the waterworks. So this idea about widening the road, to me, is ludicrous. I mean, that's the reason we want to ask for continuance. I want to go talk to Heather Carter and see where she's coming from, because I think if she's a rational person, I can steer her away from this. Now, whether or not they're going to give up on getting in off of Sigurd Hollow Road, I don't know, but I think a valid point is that that's the access we're using now, and nobody can stop us from using that, and we can put as many vehicles in there as we want. And whatever's going in there is going to be limited to, 2 or 3 trucks a week, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have to go over here and bulldoze trees down this big off of Cahaba Beach Road to get to the same point that this road already going to.
Yeah, well, commercial driveways have different rules than a residential driveway will have, though.
Right, but we can bring commercial trucks in there all day, every day, on the road that's there.
Yeah, okay. Michael, you have any problem about giving the contingency?
Yeah, that's not wrong. I think you make a motion to that effect.
I recommend contingency for 1 week.
Do we have any opposition for this case in the audience? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I recommend.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to continue this case to the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, our next case will be A 21-0004, Rebecca and William Douglas Lott, applicant Daniel Boyd. It's a variance for the terms of zoning regulations to allow a residence to be constructed 22 feet from the front property line in lieu of the minimum 35 feet. We're in agriculture zoning. It's on 1.3 acres, and the address is 8211 Cranford Road, Gardendale. Michael, would you like to present this case?
Yes, sir. This is a situation to where what was built wasn't what was exactly permitted. If you look on your screen, this was the application. This was the plot plan that was submitted with the health department application that came through our office when we first examined the zoning for the property. And as you can see, you see the building setback line, the dashed within the property line, which is boulder, and we're the proposed building site. Upon the beginning of construction, everyone is required to do a foundation survey, and that's when this was discovered. And what has happened is you've got the building now that goes over the front setback line, and it's only about 23.51 feet from that front property line. And in this situation, again, there's no real land-related hardship. There's no hardship as relates to where the septic tank or anything like that has to go. It has been demonstrative that this could be built in an appropriate location. And again, due to the fact that there's not some sort of land-related hardship, and this is more of a self-imposed hardship, the professional staff recommendation in this particular instance is denial.
Is our applicant here today?
Mr. Chairman, my name's Daniel Boyd. I'm the general manager for America's Home Place. We're actually the builder of the home. And not really a good reason to be able to explain to you why it was built where it is. The employee that located this is no longer with our company, and it wasn't due to this, but it is built over the front setback line. The one thing I would point out is that the property owner actually used to own where you see the 99.9 feet, and it went right down the middle of Cranford Road. That was the property line for this homeowner before this subdivision was done in order for them to subdivide the property. So it's not it was an existence of a right-of-way prior to the construction of this house. This road is a dead end, doesn't have a cul-de-sac, and there's 3 residents on the road, of which some may be related to the applicant, to the homeowner, excuse me. So what we're asking for is a variance for the front yard setback to be able to build it in the location. And we have contacted the health department, and we've made necessary changes to the septic system for them to be able to approve this location and to approve not this location, but to reapprove the septic tank. We had an original permit to reuse, and we've reissued that permit to reuse based on the location of the house right now, and they have approved that.
So Crane Crawford Road is a dead end,
Yes, sir.
and there's 3 other homes on it.
There's 3 other homes past this house. It's really not even a cul-de-sac. It's a single lane road, single lane AKG road.
And you got your foundation in, any other?
Yes, sir. We framed, and we actually have the shingles on. When we were made aware of it, and we decided that it was the best thing for us to go ahead and let everybody know, The survey was actually made in order to, I think you guys were going to require a foundation survey or a survey before they would issue the final certificate of occupancy. We had this survey requested in order for us to make our first draw from the lender, and that's when this came up.
Do you know the distance you are from the center line of the Crane Crawford Road?
That is I believe that's a 30-foot right-of-way, so I would be, we would say an additional, looks like to scale there might be an additional 20 feet to the center line of the road.
Upon dedication of right-of-way for subdivision cases as we go along, they typically request a 25 feet from center line. So the distance from that center line would be that 25 feet plus that 23 feet. So that's how far away it would be set back from where the center line of the road is located.
Any questions for the applicant?
And I believe the property owner may want to address you too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is William Lott. The whole thing is my wife's dream home. She wants it where, and we drew everything out. This thing is 50 feet or so from where she's not happy with it, and we don't want it there. We want it built where the house plans were. I mean, I don't know anything else to say. I
So
mean, they can offer us stuff to try to pacify, but she can live there in the house when they finish, but there's a lot of, it won't never be exactly what she wanted. And I mean, it's a life-changing event. I mean, it's something that you work for all your life, so you want it done the way you want. And she's not happy with it like that. And
Okay, so if I'm following you right, you're the property owner, and you request the variance, but you would like for us to deny the variance?
if that's what it takes, we want the house built where the other picture was or whatever. I mean, the original, what was submitted to the county. I know it's gonna incur more cost on us for some of that, but we want it where it was originally supposed to be. So if that's whatever it takes.
I think we can handle
Thank
you. Do we have any opposition? Do we have any opposition to the applicant's opposition to the applicant? Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
seeing none, I'll consider a motion.
I move to deny the rezoning.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny the variance request. Do all in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Your request has been denied. You do have rights to file circuit court within 15 days if you'd like. Okay, next up is case number A21-0005, Crimson Oak Grove Resources LLC. Stephen Blankenship's the applicant, and this is an appeal to allow an existing heliport for emergency purposes in conjunction with an active underground mining operation. Currently, the zoning is A1 and I3 industrial. We're located at 8800 Oak Grove Mine Road, Bessemer, Alabama, consisting of 183 acres. Mike, would you like to present this case?
Yes, sir. This is a rather large property, and you'll see this on the screen. This is the portal for the Oak Grove mining operation. It's near the intersection of Lock 17 and Mud Creek Road out of the Oak Grove area. You'll see it's a very large property. In fact, this is just one of the many tax parcels that encompasses where this is. The area that's in green is currently zoned A1. Recently, the folks at the mining operation have requested some permits to do some minor things on the surface. The dust borehole, which is it's just basically a chute where you shoot the dust into the mining itself. It's part of for mining safety. But as part of investigating for the permit, we're processing a rezoning request just to bring all the property under one zoning classification. And that's when it was noticed that there's a helipad that's constructed or that exists on the property itself. And this is a more inset view, but as you can see, it's still a very large property. This small location where this helicopter pad is located. Several years ago, it was installed. They didn't realize that they needed permits from us. But part of the thing is that all helipads in Jefferson County, they're allowed in I-3 zoning, they're allowed in institutional 2 zoning, but they have to be approved by the County Board of Zoning Adjustment as a use on appeal. In this particular instance, this exists just for in case there's an emergency with the mines. And the entire time that it's been on the property, thank God we haven't had an emergency at the mines. And I believe it's even a requirement of the Surface Mining Commission that these things have to be on the site. Given the fact that it's not going to have a lot of use or hopefully no use, and it's just a requirement of the Surface Mining Commission to deal with the underground mine, staff recommends approval.
Applicant here.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Stephen Blankenship with McGehee Engineering, representing Crimson Oak Grove Resources. As Michael did an excellent job of explaining, Crimson Oak Grove Resources just recently this year took over the facility and the property ownership from Murray Oak Grove Coal. In doing our due diligence and making sure all the permits were in accordance with the specifications and requirements of the state, and adding this proposed borehole, we realized a couple of things. One, that this parcel is duly zoned. Parcel A1, and part of it is I3. And so before the Board Zoning Commission, we presented a case which is currently active and then proposed to go to the Commission, Jefferson County Commission next week, that all of the property from the A1 be rezoned to the I3. So in doing so, and they approved that, it's going to the Commission next week. In doing so, we identified that this helicopter pad was not ever properly approved from the zoning. Now, this helicopter pad area has been there since as far back as I can determine, and in doing my research, it's prior to the 80s. At that point in time, it was just a graded off area with a big X in the ground. In 2013, MSHA mining inspector came and did the inspection at the mine site and noted to the foreman that they needed to pour a pad, a concrete pad for the helicopter pad, and not just have the graded bare area. So in 2013, that is when the pad was constructed for, as Michael said, the emergency use in the event of emergency in the mine to be medically evacuated from the site. And so now we're requesting the approval of the use variance.
Okay. Any opposition to the case? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion from the board?
I recommend approval, please.
Okay, we have
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Next up is A21-0006, UAB Health System, Dan Luthers. And this is appeal to allow for a helicopter port in conjunction with the planned hospital at UAB West. Zoning is institutional. We're at 39.75 acres in McCalla at 5911 Pocahontas Road, Bessemer. And Michael, would you present this case?
Yes, sir. Similar to the last case, again, helipads are only allowed in the county if approved by the County Board of Zoning Adjustment. This, of course, is this approval. This property was rezoned last summer to allow for the construction of the hospital. We've been working with the team as far as getting their building plan, their site planning, and everything else finalized. Part of their approval with the zoning was site plan approval by the County Planning and Zoning Commission, for which the Planning and Zoning Commission approved, I believe it was last month at their regular hearing. And as you can see, this is the site where it has the proposed hospital, the layout of the roadway. There will be some realignment of Bell Hill Road to the south. The helipad itself is actually going to be located on the parking deck structure, which is kind of in the center of the property. As you see, this is area that's outlined in red. This area was chosen, and I'll let the applicants go into more detail, just because of the way that the flight pattern have to work, because they're routing the flight pattern over the interstate so as to not have a disruption all over McCalla. But again, as this has been gone through the vetting process with just the Planning and Zoning Commission, the County Commission, then again the site planning process, and given the fact that they've put in some safeguards, particularly with a lot of the area that they're going to leave green, or the natural tree saves that should provide a lot of buffer. There's some built-in bufferings with the approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission to try to keep as much light from permeating onto any adjacent property owners across the street, or on the some of the few property owners that remain on Pocahontas. Given all these efforts have been put forth, as well as there's some information on the particular helicopter that they're using that has a lower decibel reading than the typical helicopters do, part of just to lower the amount of noise and all that. Provided all that information, the staff has recommended approval. This project is going to be very transformative for this particular area, and honestly, I'm not sure. There are some residences around there, but I imagine that this will be a catalyst for that to change in the near future. So. Again, with bearing all that in mind, staff recommended approval in this instance as well.
Applicant.
Hey y'all, my name is Dan Lures. It's like a fishing lure. My address is 191 Peachtree Street Northeast, Suite 5000, Atlanta, Georgia 300 or 30303. I am part of the design team, the architectural team, that is on behalf of the existing Medical West facility down in Bessemer. Obviously, when we're doing a new medical center, when we're doing a new medical center, helipads usually are going to be integrated in. This is not going to it's currently a level 4 ER, and it's transport out. It probably will be level 3 by the time we go in. It's not going to be it's not foreseen in any of our time for it to become a level 1 trauma center. Currently, Medical West, in working with their transport team, the last couple of years they've experienced on average about 3 flights out per year. We're projecting here, and it's mainly just because of where it's located, it's roughly approximate to Eastern Valley. And they're projecting, I think I put it in my documents, about 30 a year. Primarily transport out. And we studied a lot of different areas for us to look at. We originally planned 2 on grade just north of the Pocahontas properties, those residents that you see in gray. We studied it up on top of the building. We studied it along the right-of-way, along Full 59. We've already had prelim meetings with ALDOT Aeronautics in advance of FAA. So we know we're going to get an arc of approach that allows us to go pretty much north and south, swinging all the way around to about 10 degrees south of east. The way the winds work and everything else works, where that line is coming straight into that bubbled area, that's going to be the approach, because we get to choose that, working with the life flight guys, of course. We're over 300 feet from the nearest residence. The green areas are going to be remaining. We're roughly 78 feet higher than that residence on the far right side to the top of the deck where the helipad's planned. And we obviously want to keep it as close to the emergency department as possible. We had studied an option of take the patient out after they're stabilized to go to UAB or to any other major trauma center and get them up to the helipad in an ambulance. That's not a really good thing to do. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer for the team.
Okay, any questions from the staff? Good job. Do we have any opposition to this? Okay, seeing no opposition,
I recommend approval.
okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. imagine anybody against it because there's a fire department right across the street. It's going to be a lot more noisy than the helicopter would be coming in and out.
You'd think. Okay, our next case will be A21-0007, Sterling Lakes Holding Company, Zach Parrish. It's a use variance to continue to allow a clubhouse for a residential subdivision to be used as a private office. We're currently agriculture zoning, located at 4901 South Shades Crest Road, Bessemer, consisting of 1.87 acres. Michael, is that this case?
Yes, sir. This clubhouse was constructed in conjunction with with a subdivision development that's further to the east of this location. And here, I'll show that to you. You'll see the first few houses of the subdivision right there. The subdivision itself was built in Helena, and in fact, this clubhouse was erroneously permitted through Helena at the time, because this was also in the time they were processing an annexation case. So we're basically left with this building. After the subdivision was constructed, this happened all about the time of the recession, I believe, and so the building itself went into tax sale, has been purchased. As you can see from the design, there's a pool on the property, there's a playground there. I mean, it's clearly designed and built for this purpose. The new property owner plans on allowing the residents to use the facilities for events, things like that. He has no plans on closing the playground that's there either. Again, he just wants to inhabit a portion of it just for an office. And again, in evaluating things like use variances like this, we look at it as a small area. Is there any sort of significant infrastructure investment that needs to be made? Would it be somewhat cumbersome to try to zone it, which in all these instances it would be, because had we tried to rezone it to office, which is what it's being used for, we couldn't have it as like an event center, which was the primary purpose of the building. And so this is one of those, we're trying to address all these things with this one particular request. And in this instance, as it is, again, an adaptive reuse of an existing structure, staff has recommended approval.
Is the applicant here?
I'm here for 2 questions.
Okay. Any questions for the board? Okay. Do we have any opposition to this case? Seeing none, I'll consider a
I move to
motion.
approve.
And I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Variance.
I wish the next one we had would be like that. But I don't think you're going to have that luck.
Okay, our next case will be A21-0008. Roderick Jones, a variance for the terms of a zoning regulation to allow an accessory structure to be located on the property of record prior to establishing a residence. We're in A1 zoning. We're located at 3908 North Davis Lane, Pinson, Alabama, on 0.8 acres. Michael, would you present this case?
Yes, sir. This stems from there being sort of a quirk in the zoning regulations to where we don't allow accessory buildings prior to residences where we're in a recorded subdivision. Now, again, this goes back to a time when the county wasn't properly enforcing their subdivision regulations anyway. Also, when you think about situations like we've got neighborhoods in Mount Olive that are more of a condensed, conventional, single-family residential type density, but because they were constructed prior to the amendment in 2005, they could have a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. And in situations like that, you don't know that it's appropriate whether or not to build an accessory structure prior to a residence, as it is more of a conventional subdivision. In this particular instance, this subdivision is rather isolated out in the Pinson area. It's primarily family, and it's even more of almost like a scattered residential land use pattern. As you can tell, it looks like something more that you'd find in a cluster development out in the rural areas anyway. There's a mix of mobile homes and single-family residences. I don't know that it passes the muster of what the intent was in the passage of that particular provision within the regulations anyway. Given this situation, and like I said, it's mostly family out this way, there's almost an acre in the property itself. Staff has recommended approval of this particular request as well.
Applicant with us today?
You'd have to married wife. I'm the brother of Roger Jones, who is trying to get this approved. I'm just here to see if this is approved or disapproved for him.
Any opposition here? Okay, any questions for the board?
We'll need the address.
Oh,
No,
oh, her
Your,
address.
her,
What's your address?
Physical address or mailing address?
Yes.
1632 Carson Road, Center Point, Alabama, 35215.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I recommend approval.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The variance passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next case will be A21-0009. Applicant Brian Scott Alley, owner is LM Gangroso. I may have butchered that.
Jen,
Sorry about that.
Jen,
Jen. This is a variance for terms of zoning regulations to allow residents to be constructed 19 feet from the rear of the property line in lieu of the 35-foot required, and to be located 50 feet from the center line of Riverview Road in lieu of the required 60 feet. We're in agriculture zoning. The address is 2907 Riverview Road, Birmingham, and we consist of 0.41 acres. Michael, would you like to present this case?
Yes, sir. This is a pie-shaped lot that's on the Shelby-Jefferson County line. In fact, if you turn by where the Target is, going back towards the bowling alley, there's some apartments right there. After you pass through all that development, you get back into Jefferson County, this will be the first lot on the right. It's an acreage tract, sort of a remnant. It's pie-shaped. In situations where we have corner lots or we have pie-shaped lots, it becomes rather difficult in assessing or determining what's going to be the side of the rear, because the way that the county regulations are currently structured is that the rear setback is basically established by the property owner or the builder developer for when they place the structure on the property. In other jurisdictions, they have provisions where, for instance, on corner lots, pie-shaped lots like this, they treat the two opposing yards that's to the front yard as side setbacks, which would allow a larger building envelope. And in fact, this is one of the changes that staff has recommended in making to the zoning ordinance. If such a change were in place, this variance request, as well as a lot of the ones that we hear for these corner and pie-shaped lots, would go away, and we would have an ease of permitting. In this particular instance, there is an element of the request to reduce the front setback. In talking with the builder and in just going over some things, they don't need that anymore, and it may be good to, if you were to make an approval, as staff is recommending, to follow that recommendation, that to modify the rear setback, but to maintain that front setback. Again, that would just kind of keep everything in somewhat of a line along Riverview Road. Most of the houses are actually much larger in the front setbacks than what's even permitted. So this would keep some sort of uniformity out there, as well as, again, with front setbacks, the board is typically taking a sort of a shy away from that and only considered it in rare instances, just simply because there's always going to be that room that's needed for particularly vehicle stacking, as well as just to maintain that distance along the front where the road is located. So again, staff is recommending approval of the variance for the rear setback, but recommending that we keep the front setback. So,
Got it.
Applicant here today.
I'm Brian Alley. I'm intending to build a personal residence on the house, and the front setback at 50 was my mistake. I already had a drawing proposed at 60, and somehow I screwed up some numbers and redid it, but it will be behind the 60 completely.
Any opposition to the case? Okay, seeing none, any questions from the board? I'll consider any motions.
I move to approve the rear setback but deny the front setback.
Not second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, your variance has been partially granted.
At least your house wasn't half built and
Yeah. Okay, that concludes our all our cases. Okay, we already made the motion to approve the minutes. Any other business before the board?
Nothing, I did want to recognize and introduce you all to
Yes.
Ms. Aldridge, who's joining the board with us for the first time today. She's Commissioner Knight's appointment.
Way to go,
So-
Fran.
Didn't hear much out of you, but
Yeah.
welcome, Fran.
We'll have to move her up here now.
Well, yeah, we got to get
could
to
probably
the,
get enough space.
well, hopefully the light is at the end of the tunnel with this COVID-19,
Yes.
so.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I move to adjourn.
I second.
Oh. Anything else?
You can't move? Oh, I don't like you do.
We didn't have anything else, did we?
No, you're good.
Okay, move to adjourn.
How about parking stickers?
Oh, yeah, we can get that taken care of.
Yeah.
Is that a
Connie.
first for you? That the applicant wanted you to turn it down?
Yeah, that was wild.
Because I was gonna find out probably.
They're not gonna give you shit. She said, I got a lot of stuff.
How's Katie doing, Joe?
You know she's having a baby?
She had a number 3? Oh, great. Great. Is it a little girl this
It's
time?
gonna be a little girl.
Oh.
I think they do that.
I think we're